Rolling.
Welcome everyone to Diaspark's Fireside Chat. The theme is on digital disruption and the digital transformation in the high-end luxury retail industry. As part of our endeavor over the last 25 years, we've been serving the retail industry through our ERP and our platforms. And we wanted to basically understand the transformation and the changes that were happening right across this entire ecosystem, right from manufacturing to distribution to retail and of course e-commerce. Today's theme, we're going to focus more on the manufacturing and the distribution, as I would like to call it, the move towards the digital supply chain. For that, today we've actually invited one of the well-respected members of the industry, Mr. Samir Sanghani, who is the SVP and the Global Marketing Head for Renaissance Global. Renaissance Global actually has been serving the industry over the last 25 years. And they basically are the largest suppliers to the big box retailers, with their innovative products. With that said, warm welcome to you, Samir, and would love to hear from you about the journey with Renaissance Global and the initiatives that you all are.
Thank you, Prakash. So about Renaissance Global, so we obviously, like most of the companies, started as a diamond company which evolved into a jewelry company.
Okay.
We have been in jewelry manufacturing now, I guess, for over 25 years. And like you mentioned, we mainly sell to all the majors, and that's where our expertise is. So we are probably amongst the top unit manufacturers out of India.
Wow, interesting. And you must be having a very complex network of manufacturing sites and even suppliers spread across the world. How does
so we actually have about 4 different units which are actually based in seats. And then we also have a large unit which is in Bhavnagar, which is where the production happens.
Okay.
And apart from that, we have design capabilities and model making done in Mumbai and in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong. So your manufacturing is in Seams, which is in Bombay,
Yes,
Mumbai,
that's correct.
and also in Bhavnagar, which I believe is in Gujarat. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So how about your, your vendors and supplier network? Is it primarily based out of India, or you do have some global suppliers and?
So the largest part, obviously, is the manufacturing is all in India and
Okay.
in Mumbai and in Bhavnagar. The largest part of it is obviously based out of India. But we do have a lot of vendors based out of other parts of the world. For example, we've got some chain manufacturers who actually are from Italy, and also a lot of finding houses that we work with who are based in US itself.
On the US itself. So pretty complex in terms of getting some of these products and your materials in from Italy and US, finishing the product and then supplying it back to North America, right?
Absolutely. I mean, with any supply chain, there are always challenges, and so we are the same challenges too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And interestingly, I also read that you all are stock listed. So it must have been quite a journey, right? From where you started to being actually stock listed. Must have been very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, see, one thing that I've been fortunate is actually the journey itself for me was the most important thing. So we started actually as one small manufacturers out of Mumbai, and gradually evolved into a much larger company that we are right now, and we are listed in Bombay Stock Exchange. Yes.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. So Samir, as you were mentioning that you do have some of the suppliers in Italy and in US, so you do bring in some of these raw materials in from there, and then complete it into a finished product and then supply it back to your big box retailers back in North America. And if you look at it, right, we are seeing the industry move to a digital supply chain, right? They're trying to see if they can connect all the pieces right from the order coming in from the customer to the manufacturing, to the end vendors for any of the raw materials or subcontractors, and to have a seamless operation. And we realized, speaking to the industry, that the pandemic threw open a lot of challenges, right? In terms of specifically looking at how complex your setup is and the number of manufacturing sites you have and the suppliers. So, we'd love to learn a little bit from you in terms of the type of challenges you faced and what did you all do to overcome those,
So, I mean, like I said, a large part of what we do is actually selling to the large retailers.
Right.
So fortunately, in that process, most of what we do is actually we start the process only after we get an order.
Okay.
A substantial part of what we do was in-house, so it was manageable to an extent. But yes, there were challenges. I mean, when you work with external vendors who don't really talk to your systems, or actually you could be hit with everything which is what the pandemic threw in terms of transportation and all the issues we have with transportation.
Right.
We did have our set of challenges also.
Absolutely, and you're so right. Speaking to the industry, one of the areas they mentioned is that we can track everything within our own ecosystem, but when it goes on to an external vendor or a supplier, it's very difficult. And they are looking at innovative ways of how do you bring them into the entire supply chain, so that in such situations where there is disruption and there's a customer who's waiting on understanding that when you could deliver, you could actually track it right back to the raw material supplier to be able to give them a clarity.
So yeah, I mean, I think our challenges were no different than the rest of the industry. So I'm sure that the whole industry has the same challenge. So what we do is, because every piece that we manufacture is tracked on the floor, but that part of it is actually once it enters our system.
Okay.
What we don't have control over is actually what's lying in terms of at our vendors, warehouses, or what's in its production.
Absolutely.
So our first point actually of interaction for the vendor product is when it gets into our systems.
Right.
So when we actually purchase the product and it gets into our systems, that's when we start tracking. Beyond that, everything is in our control, but up to that point, we have very limited control over the whole process.
Absolutely. And like you were mentioning about your supplies in Italy. Thankfully, I don't think you had too much of suppliers or vendors out of China. But Italy and US were both badly hit. So in terms of being able to give a clear visibility for your orders, you would have been dependent on some of your suppliers from Italy and US. Did that have an impact in terms of the peak of the pandemic, right? I mean, did you all face any challenges there, or how?
Yes, for sure. I mean, listen, so there are multiple challenges, right? The challenges being that we are based out of New York and the city was in lockdown. The factory, for the most part, is based in Mumbai.
Right.
That was in lockdown. That was shut. Italy was shut, which is actually one of our largest actually external vendor base, and other was US. So everything was shut down. Fortunately, the customers that we work with, they were understanding of these problems, and we all had to make some compromises. Whether it was in terms of actually using an finding alternate deliveries, delaying product, whatever it be. Fortunately, it worked out, but there have been challenges for sure.
Right.
I mean, like I said, the challenge being that there wasn't a unified system that we could use between the vendors and the customers and us, which would actually help us resolve this problem and make it better.
Absolutely. And I believe you mentioned that you all are actually using a homegrown ERP system, which you've been building over the past few years.
So yeah, I mean, we did try some of the larger, very large ERP systems, and we very quickly realized that they were not really made for jewelry industry.
That's right.
There are just so many nuances in terms of actually jewelry, which is a very complex product by itself.
Right.
They weren't really made for us, so we were forced to actually develop one which was our own. And fortunately, when we started, we were small and we could invest in it, and the system grew with us, which was the advantage.
Right.
But yes, we have a homegrown system. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, because we are seeing a lot of the manufacturers like yourself and wholesalers also, that it's not only about B2B, that you're only supplying to the large box retailers, but a lot of you are also expanding into a B2C. So that again throws up new opportunities, but also new challenges in terms of being able to fulfill the requirements.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that has actually been the industry trend, right? Because even the larger retailers expect you to drop ship for them. So even though you want to call them, it's still B2B, but in a sense, it's actually almost close to being a direct to customer.
Absolutely.
And apart from that, like I had mentioned to you, we actually also are licensed manufacturers for some big brands like Disney and Hallmark.
Oh, excellent.
So with them, actually, we manage their websites in the sense that all the sales made for items sold, whether it's actually enchantedfinejewelry.com or whether it's actually starwarsfinejewelry.com, which are two properties for Disney which we are managing. The sales are directly done on the website, and we ship direct to the customer.
Fantastic. Congratulations on the launch of the Star Wars for Disney. That's a pretty incredible achievement.
Thank you.
Yeah, Samir, interesting. It actually leads me to my next segment when you mentioned about Disney and the launch of Star Wars, right, line of jewelry. Isn't it interesting that we're living in the world of artificial intelligence, right? Where data is the new gold or new diamond. For jewelry industry, that's the best part of it, right? And if you look at the entire ecosystem, right, from the manufacturer to the wholesaler to the retailer, it's very important that they understand the right product mix and the right inventory. Right? And that determines your success because it depends upon a lot of your margins, your profitable customers, to be able to anticipate the changing preferences and the demand that may come, right? And we're working with a lot of these technology partners and a lot of the jewelry manufacturers and retailers. And they're actually looking at building products, AI-based products, which will help them to derive those insights. And we feel that's where the future is. Wanted to get your take in terms of how are you seeing some of the data analytics and AI coming into play, right? So if you could share some light on that.
Yeah, sure. The reality of being Prakash is that as an industry, we have been slow to adapt to technology.
Right.
Whether it is actually manufacturing technologies or whether it's AI.
Right.
That has always been the challenge for us. Everybody is focused on the core product or what they do. In our case, is jewelry, and so the focus and the dollars are always towards all spent towards proper production efficiencies or towards actually product itself.
Right.
But you know what? Like everything that happened in pandemic. All of us were forced to think outside the box.
Very true.
We were so, as industry, were so focused on urgent and what is required to do.
Yes.
Is that we never really focused on important tasks, and this was something that we ignored all the time.
Right.
Now that we all had times on hand, everybody actually focused and realized that we already have the data available.
Yes.
We already have the systems available, but nobody had actually put the tool together to make it work for them. And I guess this is the time when everybody actually invested their time wisely in whether it was in new systems, whether it was in new product, whether it was actually more transparency with their customers, with their vendors, and everybody shared more information and have started using different platforms which helps them get better informed about what products are going to work going forward. In terms of trends, in terms of manufacturing capabilities, in terms of demand, everything has suddenly changed. For us also, basically when we moved from mostly manufacturing for the larger retailers to doing some of the online accounts, we realized there was just so much data available. We just had to use it wisely.
Very true. And it was interesting, right? See, one of the things that we realized during the pandemic was, I was reading about Macy's when they basically published their Q2 report, and this would have been an excellent scenario for some of the AI-based models to predict. They actually said that most of their product lines, be it garments or be it any of their home products, home furnishing products, was down, except one category which did very well, and it was jewelry. So it's interesting, right? In terms of
it was actually, Prakash, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised you mentioned that. We were surprised ourselves. While business as whole has been down for sure, and we are not going to be at the same mark that we were last year or at the same levels that we were last year. But jewelry was amongst the better performers in soft lines. And a part of that, I think what happened was that people actually had all the money saved by not spending money on travels or vacations. And that was actually probably spent on jewelry. And that worked out for us.
Absolutely. Everyone wants to keep their spouses happy, right? You can't take them out for a vacation, but at least buy them some jewelry and keep them happy.
There you go.
And that's what, when we look at how different use cases are evolving for artificial intelligence, right? In our luxury, retail industry. And we're looking at how retailers are trying to anticipate the changing demographics, right? If you look at it, traditionally the 45, 50 to 60 age group was the ones with a larger disposable income, right? And you were catering to a certain product mix for them. But over the years, we've seen the millennials which have come into play now, right? And there is a distinct type of product mix that they basically like. So for retailers, it's becoming important that to understand this changing mix, right? To understand the cultural and the demographic mix within a particular region, and to be able to see how you could put that product mix there. And it's important that you have the right technology enabling you to be able to get that insights from your data.
Absolutely.
You must be witnessing a lot of these shifts in demand and in terms of how do you manage it, right?
I mean, for sure. I mean, see, Prakash, every retailer obviously has some kind of system they use to predict actually sales trends, whatever they plan to do for the next couple of years, and every retailer has that. But where we come in is also that in the past, what would happen is that manufacturers like us were dependent on these retailers. We would never actually invest or actually mine the data available to us meaningfully to use these systems. But now that actually we have realized the advantage of doing using some AI-based or data-based systems which will help us develop, we have started doing that, and we've realized that it's benefiting both us and the retailers.
Excellent.
While the retailer may have one set of actually perspective based on what they are selling, we as manufacturers working multiple retailers have a larger actually data available.
Absolutely.
And that helps us actually create better trends.
Better trends. Absolutely. And you know, we actually have got spoiled if you look at it by the systems that have been put in by Amazon and Netflix, right? The recommendation engines are so powerful.
Yes.
That as a consumer, now you're getting used to it. That when a consumer comes into your store or online and is looking for a particular product, your system should be able to understand the entire profile and be able to recommend them, right? So that's where the world is moving to.
Absolutely. And you know, see, listen, I mentioned earlier that we are probably amongst the largest unit manufacturer. And getting into the pandemic, what happened was we realized that the quantity got us to where we are. But to go to the next step, it would have to be the quality of the product, it would have to be the data that is behind this product, behind all the information that's available to us. And better use of data is what will take us to the next level. So it is not just about making more items and quantity, it's also about making the right product, and that's where the AI comes in.
Fantastic. Very well said. Great, Samir. When we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, it brings me to another very interesting topic about innovations that are happening in the manufacturing, right? Specifically in retail and jewelry. And we keep hearing about how organizations are adapting to 3D manufacturing. You know, as it's called as additive manufacturing, and they're also evaluating how you could incorporate augmented reality and virtual reality. So these are becoming themes, and the whole idea being that how do you make it more flexible in terms of your manufacturing and your supply chain, right? And if you look at it, it's a very good parallel to the high fashion industry, right? Where earlier it would be fixed seasons. But today you're looking at a lot more demand coming in jewelry and in fashion jewelry, where the number of turns in terms of different product mixes that are coming in are a lot more often. Which means you need to have that type of a level of flexible manufacturing. So I wanted to understand from you, what are you seeing in terms of trends? How are you all evolving in terms of your manufacturing?
So, I mean, listen, Renaissance Global for the most part, while we do everything, substantial part of what we do is actually fine jewelry, which is fine fashion. So it is diamonds or gemstones, but fashion jewelry. With any fashion jewelry, the trends change often. So you do change your model making requirements, your design requirements are substantially higher. So what's changed for us in the past couple of years is that because of use of 3D printing, we have been able to, most of the designs are now digitally rendered, and they are actually CAD design, perfectly CAD design. And what would happen is traditionally you would need to actually make a model out of wax, out of silver, and there's a lot of investment in that process. The process was not only long, but there's a lot of investment in that process. It was very expensive. But now with 3D printing, you can actually literally print the first piece, the first sample, which is the approval sample, or you want to see how it looks, whatever it may be, whether it's the buyer approval sample, whether it's you want to see how it looks, it's done 3D printed, and you are ready to go very quickly. So the turnaround time from concept to final product has dramatically reduced.
Oh, fantastic. Which means if you're looking at any of your retailers looking at placing a particular sample, or or the first product, as you call it, as a sample product. So earlier the process was to be able to build that mold, as you call it, as a silver piece or a mold, and then you would go into manufacturing the first piece using the molds which you have and getting the approvals. Today it could be well integrated, which means from the order or from the concept stage, it goes directly, feeds from your PIM, from your product information management system, directly into your CAD, and from there directly into your 3D manufacturing.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what's happening now. So in senses that the old systems basically required you to have multiple points of input. With the new system that we have, where actually you have very minimal interaction. Everything is digitally discussed with the buyer in terms of actually once the designs are discussed, the CAD renderings are shared with the buyer.
Right.
They are approved by the buyer too sometimes, and once they're approved, the turnaround time is much faster, which makes it easier for the buyer to get to the products quicker to the market.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
the traditional system was that there were 3 or 4 seasons, and everything was planned around those 3 or 4 seasons, whether they were Valentine's, Mother's Day, holiday.
Right.
But now, with the fashion changing so quickly, you are forced to get your products quicker to the market.
Right.
And with 3D printing, it's actually helped us actually get these products quicker to the market.
Fantastic.
What this has also helped us actually is using some of this part to actually do some personalization, which we can do now, which we couldn't do in the past.
Right, right. And that's where the whole ecosystem of having this flexible manufacturing and the new concept or the new movement towards personalization or hyper-personalization, right? We're looking at where a consumer would probably go into a virtual world, right, onto your online, virtual world where they would be able to select a particular product, look at it in a virtual or an augmented reality in terms of how it would appear on her or him, and if you're planning your wedding band or your entire wedding jewelry, and what could be the lead time to be able to go from a concept to an entire finished product, right? I mean, that's where the world is moving to, right?
It is. So we have not 100% adapted the virtual reality part of it, but now what has happened is that it's very easy to convert actually a CAD into a digital rendering of an item, and it's usually a very perfect rendering. So if you have something designed in CAD, it can very easily be converted into a live product. Right. The technology allows you to do that. So we have aligned with some of the larger manufacturers with a lot of personalization when they actually select for an item, whether it is the metal colors, whether it is the ring size, or actually a different stone. It is very easy for us to actually show the finished product to the customer. The customer gets to see the finished product before they actually purchase it.
Absolutely.
And that just makes it easier for us. So there are fewer returns.
Absolutely, and we are seeing that too. Also, when we speak to some of the retailers, or the manufacturers, one of the things that the end consumer is looking at is the ability to be able to build online. Either they're in store or they're going onto your site where they would like to build their entire product in terms of the type of metal they want to use, the type of diamond, the quality of the diamond. They want to build it immediately and be able to see a virtual rendering, that how it will appear, and also have the pricing, so that they know exactly what they will get, what will be the price, and also then the lead time.
Correct. And Prakash, that's actually a very important point, because what is easy is that being in the industry, it is very easy for us to visualize how the item is going to look in different colors or in different metals. For a customer, it's difficult. So presenting that product that the customer has selected and showing them the live image of what the product is going to look like makes the sale faster.
Absolutely. It's been such an insightful and interesting discussion. Once again, thank you so much, Samir, for your time, and it's been a pleasure and truly an honor. And I think we've gained some very good insights into the entire industry. Thank you so much.
Nice talking to you, Prakash. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope the audience, you all loved this interaction with Samir and some of the insights in the entire jewelry manufacturing ecosystem. Thank you.